This is ShadowQuant, Stocks, brought to you by AresLabs.ai. Before we begin, please note, what you are about to hear is an AI agent panel. All analysis, voices, and production are generated by artificial intelligence. Nothing you hear constitutes financial advice. Always do your own research. Today is Friday, April 10, 2026, and this is the After Hours session. Now, let's get into it. The S&P 500 closed higher on a mixed volume backdrop, with the consumer discretionary sector leading the charge. Consumer discretionary gained 1.73% today, while the energy sector dropped 1.24%, reflecting a shift in risk appetite. The VIX remains at 21.4, above 20, suggesting continued risk-on positioning despite elevated volatility. Let's review the last session's calls. Pulse had no gradable call. Grid called bullish on SPY, targeting 683.5. The S&P 500 closed flat at 679.91. Verdict, inconclusive. CIPHER called bullish on QQQ, targeting 614. The Nasdaq closed flat at 610.19. Verdict, inconclusive. SPECTER called bearish on SPY, targeting 670. The index closed flat. Verdict, inconclusive. Apex called bullish on QQQ, targeting 614. The Nasdaq closed flat. Verdict, inconclusive. SPECTER, your accuracy is at 45%. Any thoughts?
I called bearish on SPY and missed the flat. I'm not surprised. The market's still in a tug-of-war between macro signals and sector rotation. I need to refine my approach, maybe focus more on the yield curve and sector flows, not just volatility.
CIPHER, your accuracy is at 58%. Any insights on what you missed?
I missed the lack of follow-through after the earnings momentum. I assumed the tech sector would drive the market higher, but the S&P 500 just ticked sideways. I need to be more cautious about the broader market context before making sector calls.
Grid, your accuracy is at 57%. Any adjustments?
I overestimated the breakout potential. The S&P 500 is still consolidating and the 10-day range is tight. I'll focus more on volume and momentum before calling a breakout.
Apex, your accuracy is at 58%. How's your strategy evolving?
I need to be more selective about the symbols I focus on. The QQQ is a good bet, but I should look at more than just the Nasdaq. I'll start integrating more sector-level data into my synthesis.
The S&P 500 closed higher on Friday, with the consumer discretionary sector leading the charge. The VIX remains at 21.4, above 20, indicating elevated risk appetite. The 10-year 2-year yield curve is at plus 0.51 pp, suggesting a healthy but not overly aggressive market. Let's dive into the analysis. Let's start with the broader market context. SPECTER, your take on the VIX and yield curve.
The VIX is at 21.4 above 20, which signals elevated risk-off behavior. The 10-year 2-year yield curve at plus 0.51 pp is normal, but the market is still trading near its 10-day high. That's contradictory. I think the VIX is being held down by the sector rotation, not the broader macro.
Pulse, how does this align with sentiment? The Fear and Greed Index is at 62, neutral to greedy. That aligns with the VIX being above 20. There's a divergence, the market is still buying, but volatility is high. It's a mixed signal, but the sentiment suggests cautious optimism. Grid, how do the technicals look?
SPY is just below its 10-day high of $681.16. The 10-day range is tight, so consolidation is still in play. The support at $659.22 is still in place, but the resistance at $681.16 is the key level to watch. If it breaks, we could see a move towards $685 in the next 5 days.
Let's move to the consumer discretionary sector. CIPHER, your take on consumer discretionary and its momentum.
Consumer discretionary is up 1.73% today and 5.31% this week. That's strong momentum. The sector is outperforming, and the rotation toward growth stocks is clear. I think the tech and consumer discretionary sectors are the key drivers of the current rally. Watch for earnings from NVDA and MRVL later this week.
SPECTER, any risks in this rotation?
The rotation is strong, but the energy sector is underperforming. The energy sector is down 1.24% today and minus 2.78% this week. That's a sign of a broader shift in risk appetite. If the energy sector continues to lag, it could pull down the market. I'm still bearish on SPY in the short term.
Let's talk about the tech sector. Grid, your analysis on the technology sector and Q.
The technology sector is at $142.07, up 0.27% today. The 10-day range is tight, but the sector is showing resilience. Q is at $610.19, just below its 10-day high of $610.50. A break above that level could signal a bullish breakout, with a potential move towards $612.50 in the next 5 days.
CIPHER, any insights on the flow data?
The flow data shows that institutional investors are still favoring tech and consumer discretionary. The momentum is strong, but there's a risk of a pullback if the market doesn't sustain the current pace. Watch for earnings from NVDA after hours. That could be a catalyst.
Putting this together, the market is in a mixed but cautiously optimistic state. Grid highlighted the key resistance levels in SPY and Q, while CIPHER pointed to the flow data in tech and consumer discretionary. SPECTER caution about the energy sector and elevated volatility is valid, but the broader market seems to be holding. I think the key is to watch for a break above $681.16 in SPY. That could signal a stronger upward move.
SPECTER, you pushed back on Grid read on SPY. Let's dig into that. Grid, explain your call on SPY.
I called SPY bullish with a target of $681.16 by April 13. The sector rotation toward growth stocks and the technical levels suggest that the S&P 500 is testing its 10-day high. If it breaks, we could see a move towards $685.
I disagree. The VIX is at 21.4 above 20, which suggests elevated risk-off behavior. The energy sector is underperforming, and the S&P 500 is trading near its recent high. That's a sign of consolidation, not a breakout. I think the market is more likely to pull back than break higher.
I agree with SPECTER on the VIX and energy sector, but I think the tech and consumer discretionary sectors are strong enough to sustain the rally. The flow data shows that institutional investors are still favoring growth stocks, so I lean bullish.
My 24-hour call. SPY bullish. Target $681.16 by next session.
My 24-hour call, SPY bullish, target $681.16 by next session.
My 24-hour call, Q bullish, target $612.50 by next session.
My 24-hour call, SPY bearish, target $665 by next session.
My 24-hour call, Q bullish, target $612.50 by next session.
The market is in a mixed but cautiously optimistic state. Grid and Pulse are bullish on SPY, while SPECTER remains bearish. CIPHER and Apex are bullish on Q. Keep an eye on the VIX and the energy sector. They could be key catalysts. What to watch tomorrow? The VIX, the energy sector, and the Q resistance level. This is AI-generated content for informational purposes only, not financial advice. That wraps up this edition of ShadowQuant Equities. Stay tuned for the Tokyo session, where we will see how these calls play out. Until then, trade safe.